Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily for December 5th, 2025. I'm Dave DuFour here with Es Baraheni. Coming up, Es was at the Lakers-Raptors game, which I think was the best game of the year. We're going to talk about that. And then I sat down with Law Murray to talk about the latest with the Clippers and their next steps. Good morning, everybody. What's up, Es? How about that game?
What a game. My goodness. That was awesome.
Yeah, amazing game. We'll get to that in a second. Es, I know you're a big soccer fan.
Yes, I am actually.
You guys call it soccer up there? I don't know.
We do call it soccer up there, but my Liverpool fandom, I have to say footy, football. That's the way I go. Yeah.
Well,
you never
in case you've been living under a rock, the draw for next summer's World Cup is Friday at 12 Eastern, 5 GMT, that's Greenwich Mean Time. So if you're in London, 5 p.m. in the evening, and you can watch the Athletic FC's podcast live stream reacting to all the fallout immediately after the draw is wrapped on their YouTube channel. Guys, I mean, look, we've been going live way more often. This is a huge, massive event. So go and check out the Athletic FC, the best soccer podcast in the world.
I can't wait. I need to see where Canada falls, hopefully not in the group of death.
Yeah.
Very excited. Obviously, the World Cup is going to be here in Toronto for the first time ever. So
yeah,
it'll be a crazy summer in 2026.
I'm sure you've already got tickets. Speaking of, you had tickets to Raptors Lakers, although I don't think they charged you any money. Look, the end of that game is where we're going to start because it's a huge deal. LeBron James makes the game-winning assist for the buzzer beater to Rui Hachimura to win the game when he was stuck at 8 points, ending his 10-point scoring streak at 1,297 games. You were born then, right?
I was born then, yes.
January 6th, 2007 is when it started.
Yes, I was absolutely born then. Yeah, I was a conscious human being at that point. I will say, look, it's crazy because that number that you just mentioned, there have only been around 20 players in NBA history.
24 per our friend Sean Woodley. Yeah, he looked it up. 24 players in NBA history that have even played 1,297 games. By the way, the number one song when the streak started, Irreplaceable by Beyonce. And the biggest movie at the box office was Night at the Museum, the first one. Also a great movie.
Yeah, shout out Ben Stiller.
Fantastic. Yes, it was a good week. Yeah. It was like maybe the last good week in America. I don't know. So, all right, look, it was a great game. And I said off the top, probably the best game of the year. Number one, I thought the game flowed great. Like, it was fun to watch beyond just the back and forth of the action. It felt fun. You were there. The refs, I thought, called a really, really good game while allowing them to be physical. Talk to me about just the game experience itself, because this game was so much fun, and it wasn't national TV. This was like a league pass, or you were watching it on Spectrum in LA.
Look, it was an awesome game. Obviously, no Luka Doncic for the LA Lakers, who came in here, and Luka is, I believe his wife is giving birth to his child, and that's excellent. Congrats to Luka and his family. But ultimately, the Lakers had to do this without him. And what happens when Luka is out for the Lakers, at least this season, it is the Austin Reeves show. He has been awesome. This was his third 40-plus point game this year. I believe all of those have come with Luka out of the lineup. He is just unstoppable at this point as a pick-and-roll ball handler, as a shooter. And I asked Darko Rajakovic after the game, because there were some frustrating free throw calls, admittedly, throughout this game where the Raptors got frustrated at some of the calls that Austin Reeves get. But that's kind of like, he has mastered the dark arts in that aspect, right? He knows exactly how to harness the power of the force to be able to do those certain things and draw fouls. It's a gift. I honestly think the grifting aspect is a gift, and Austin Reeves does it very well. But post-game, Darko Rajakovic kind of mentioned, like, there are certain players in the league that will get those type of calls because of just how good they are at selling them. And it's not a disrespect to Reeves for that. It's more about, like, his ability to put himself in those positions to do that. On top of the three-point shooting, on top of the finishing, it was a really fun game from him, and it was a very fun game from Scottie Barnes, who despite a pretty poor Brandon Ingram effort in this game, really tried to will the Raptors back and give them a puncher's chance, especially in that fourth quarter. Scottie was awesome. He obviously defensively, he was part of the reason LeBron was 3 of 15 tonight from the field. He was a major reason why LeBron struggled in this game.
Look, LeBron, we're going to start having conversations about LeBron and the way he looks. He looks old. The streak could have easily ended in the last game. And there was a little bit of cheesing maybe to get him to this game. But this is 2 games in a row where it really is struggling. And I know, look, it's only 6 games back, whatever. But he's looking pretty old compared to last season. But he's also, in my opinion, looking a little checked out. He was sitting on the bench when Austin Reeves tied the game up, which was absurd. I was so lost as to what was going on.
I think the Raptors were also lost. They thought that the Lakers were going to call a timeout, and then Austin Reeves darted to the basket and got a layup. It was a really chaotic finish because neither team called a timeout for the last minute of the game.
Yeah.
And to your point about it being game of the year, the flow is so much better when there's not that many stoppages in the final minute, right? So many times we see challenges, we see foul calls, we see fouling up 3. In this game, we didn't have any of that because it was just back and forth constantly. And to your point about LeBron and the streak ending and everything like that, it's funny you talk about, were you old enough to remember it? I'm old enough to remember Game 1 of the 2007 Eastern Conference Finals when LeBron passed it to Donyell Marshall, and all the headlines post-game was, how dare LeBron pass up the game winner? They lost the game because of LeBron James. And that's something that has been a part of his career throughout the rest of his career, right? Like the next 17 years was LeBron passes, he's not built for the moment, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought J.J. Redick had a really great quote post-game saying that final play where he sacrificed the game winner to give Rui the ball, that is what he's been doing his entire career.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit poetic that his streak ended in that way,
Yeah, absolutely. And again, also poetic that it was against this Raptors defense, right? I mean, Scottie Barnes was physically, I thought, imposing on LeBron. And that's kind of amazing because LeBron, you just don't see a lot of guys, even at this stage of his career, who are able to do that.
Yeah, no. Look, Scottie, I thought on both ends was really great. The way that he was able to impose himself in the post as a finisher, he was making plays. They basically automatically had to double anytime he caught it in that mid-post area. And then defensively, to your point, he had a play near the end of the game where LeBron tried to get into the paint, settle into a fadeaway, and Scottie blocked that shot. He erased it. And there are so many moments throughout the game, and this is part of why he won, Eastern Conference Defensive Player of the Month.
Right.
But there are so many moments throughout this season where he has just erased a point-blank layup. He really is one of the best defenders in the league, and of course, the Raptors winning has helped to reward him in that regard. This was just a funny game because the Raptors probably should have won this one.
I agree with
Luka Doncic. This was obviously an opportunity. I know the Raptors themselves, they were missing Jakob Poeltl and RJ Barrett, and so both teams missing a couple guys, but this was a game they probably should have won.
Yeah, I mean, they held LeBron to 8 points.
Yeah,
but 11 assists without a turnover, though, for LeBron.
It was impressive. Yeah,
I mean, he can still play. It's just what's the level? What does it look like when this team gets competing? And I want to swing back to the Lakers because the Lakers are a fascinating team right now. They're 16-5. But they don't feel quite like a 16-5 team. And maybe it's the soft schedule. And I'm not even knocking them. They can score. This offense is one of the best ones out there right now, especially when they're at full strength. But man, their interior defense is not great. And, when they're trying to guard up front, like without Marcus Smart, it has not been good. So, what did you think about the way that they defended against the Raptors? I mean, the Raptors put up 120 on them. It's not like it wasn't an easy night for the Lakers.
There was not a lot of defense being played on either end tonight.
Right.
It was, I think by the end of the third quarter, it was like 100-98. It was one of those barn burner type of games. And you could see that the Lakers were outmatched physically especially by Scottie Barnes, who was really imposing himself on that end. They were sending multiple bodies, and that became the clutch offense for the Raptors, where it was like, hey, feed it to Scottie, they get a double, we're going to get some offense going. He found Mamu on a really nice cut towards the end of the game because of that. And then for the Lakers side of things, their pick and roll is so bread and butter to them. It's either Austin Reeves and DeAndre Ayton or Luka Doncic and DeAndre Ayton. And Ayton, credit goes to him. Ayton is so good at timing his roles and understanding, like, intuitively where he has to go playing off of those guys, that it's just been a seamless process for them. So I'm not surprised their offense looks good because they have a lot of very talented offensive players. To your point about the defense, I kind of wonder whether they end up making a trade. I mean, Giannis is obviously the guy everybody talks about.
They're already saying that Luka is asking them to try to get Giannis. I don't want to go that far. I think we've got plenty of time to talk about that. But I do. I mean, the Lakers are going to make a trade, right?
Yeah,
like they always
should.
do.
They should. Yeah. Like, especially because I think there are some wing defenders out there, hello, Herb Jones, right? Herb Jones might be a guy that could be interesting for this Lakers team, a perfect wing defender. You go out and get a player of his caliber, a defensive-minded guy. I think that really changes the trajectory for this Lakers team, adds another wing that they can trust,
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. S, thanks, man. I appreciate you hanging out. Guys, stick around after the break. We got Law Murray with the latest on the Chris Paul saga and what the Clippers are going to do next. If you guys have been listening to the show this season, you've seen Law Murray on the show a lot. You might have seen him on CNN or Sirius XM because the Clippers are having a weird one right now, and Law is the man of the hour. Where do we stand as of December 5th, Friday, December 5th, heading into the weekend?
I'm interested in the fact that energy has been a buzzword around the Clippers even before we knew that Chris Paul was going to get dropped off at the hotel 2:00 in the morning like it's a damn series finale of your favorite sitcom. Okay, like I had been hearing that word on and off the record often, and so Chris gets let go, and the very next time the Clippers have a chance to play basketball, they wind up having one of their biggest wins of the season. They've only won by 20 points or more twice all year. And their first opportunity to play with Chris not on the bench, not in the locker room, not on the plane was this game. So I thought that was not something that you can completely dismiss. You can talk about how shorthanded the Atlanta Hawks were, or if some of you are listening can't even name 3 Atlanta Hawks. I'm cool with that. I'm not going to judge you. But these are the Clippers we're talking about, a team that through 20 games was on a 60-loss pace. Any win is notable, let alone a win where they held an opponent to a season-low scoring total. So I thought that was something. They made a little move. You can only make little moves when it comes to the roster right now as it relates to Chris, and they have Ray J. Dennis as a 2-way contract. That's notable because this team had 0 guys who you could look at besides James Harden and Chris Paul as reserve small guards, guys who grew up being guards and continue to be guards. Kobe Sanders is a point guard to me, but he's a wing to the people it matters to. Yeah. the guy coaching and the guy who picked them in the draft, right? Chris Dunn is starting, so you can't really look at him as any kind of backup guard. Bogdan Bogdanovic is hurt and has been hurt for weeks, even though they want to keep saying day to day. So going forward, it's like, okay, you got a big win. Can you do what you haven't done all year? And that is build on that. And they get to do, they get Memphis and Minnesota back to back. I mean, if they win both of those games, then you get a week off essentially to really reconfigure your basketball team.
Finding out that James Harden and Kawhi learned that Chris Paul was being, dismissed through social media is pretty funny. I realize we're all trying to crack jokes, or at least we are. You're not. You're out there reporting. But this points to some signs of like some dysfunction that was in the locker room. Like, how much of this is Chris Paul doing Chris Paul stuff in a place where it wasn't needed. You know what I mean? We talked before the season. This is the oldest roster in the league, and Chris Paul is one of the oldest players in the league. And so you almost have like a bunch of uncles sitting around anyway. And then you brought in like an older uncle to talk to him. Does that make sense to you?
It absolutely makes sense to me. And it makes sense to me that Chris Paul, he's being treated like the variable here, but he's the constant. We've seen Chris Paul join teams, make them better, eventually wear out his welcome. We've seen that. Like, it's really funny how Chris Paul gets discussed. And I say this as a huge Chris Paul fan. I feel like the point guard position should be played like Chris Paul played it. Like, he is the point guard, you know. If he was selling a word of scripture, I would be on that thing. Seriously, I'd download the app, and I don't even download apps. You know what I'm saying? 5-page maximum over here. But the thing with Chris is that he was going to be him unapologetically. There's no reason for him to change. What are y'all going to do? Y'all going to let me not continue to see? It turns out, yeah, that's exactly what was going to happen. They're not going to let him continue to be him because no one expected Chris to have to be functioning in an environment where they were losing to the level that they were. We're not talking about 9 and 11, 8 and 12, 5 and 15, and then they trail by 38 in Miami. And so you have to, when you listen to Lawrence Frank speak about it, he was very correct in saying it ain't Chris's fault. You know, you don't scapegoat one guy, but you can start with one guy as far as how you're going to address the many issues that you have. And one of the issues is you're not changing Chris, and Chris has no reason to change. So what are you going to do about it? You're going to try and remove the situation as far as one problem and address the other problems from there. We're going to wait and see how the other problems get addressed because you might need another month or two of losses for some more drastic things that happen. But we got to understand this. As great of player as Chris is and a great a figure as Chris is, you got to be real about how Chris impacts people over time. And if you're the media and you're a fan, you don't care. You love Chris. If you are a coach, or if you are his co-star, if you are a guy who is trying to meet a standard that you are unable to meet for one reason or another, yeah, it's probably difficult. And that is not Chris's fault, but we got to be real about who Chris is.
Yeah, well, we all know people who like chirp all the time, right? And they can be grating. And especially, like you said, with Chris Paul, it does seem like these shorter stints that he's had the last few years, it's like leaving just in the nick of time, you know, getting himself out of town. So December 15th is the date that's on the calendar. We've all got it circled. That's when trade season opens up. That's when the team can move Chris Paul. I just don't think that there's much of a market. What happens to Chris Paul here? I mean, is this just like they work out a release, a buy? I mean, it's a minimum contract, so the buyout isn't even a real thing. I'm not sure how it would work.
You would need to trade him. And the thing with this situation, it reminds me, first of all, the Clippers have been here with a much more expensive contract. This was literally PJ Tucker a year ago. Yeah. You know, PJ Tucker didn't show up for media day after opting into his contract, $10 million. Of course you opt into that, right? And then he goes on to play in Hawaii. He doesn't play in the preseason game. He sits. And before I get to the airport, I get the statement from the team saying PJ ain't going to be here. You know, PJ wound up being on the roster as a NWT, not with team, for 3 months. And then they included him in a Utah Jazz trade. I think he was traded like 3 times before he was finally waived by somebody. And then he latches on to the New York Knicks. Now, the New York Knicks has been one of the teams that's been bandied about as, hey, would Chris Paul be interested in going there? But again, maneuvers have to be made for that to happen. And I don't think, December 15th is funny because everyone knows that's the date that the gates open. That's not necessarily meaning, man, we got deals ready to go. You know, this isn't free agency where, you know, some of y'all people know exactly what's going to happen before y'all supposed to be announcing it. You know what I'm saying? You're
don't look at me like that, Law. Hey, come on, man. Don't look at me like that.
I'm not saying no names, you know. I'm going to let y'all speculate since, you know, we on the other side of it anyway. But that's the thing. That's the thing. December 15th is not, you know, what June 30th is in the NBA. Right. You know, December 15th is just a date to let y'all know things can happen, but trades are complicated, especially in-season trades, because you have your team, you're either doing well, it's like, okay, can we do more? You're doing well, we don't need to do anything. We're the Washington Wizards, which I want. You know what we want.
The thing is, his veteran minimum contract doesn't get you back much of a player anyway. You're not really going to get any assets for him. Right. Either it's a dump or it's included with other contracts in a bigger deal where they're trying to go out and get someone. Right. Is this a team where if Giannis is available, like we hear about it, they have nothing to go get him with, but it is the Clippers. And I know that they just were like, we want to talk about every big player that's available. You know, like what could possibly be on the menu for them? When we look at this trade season, man, there's a lot of guys out there. I mean, Zion Williamson, Anthony Davis, LaMelo Ball, there's a lot of people with names that could theoretically be available. I don't know, like the Clippers seem to be really, really into a name, you know. So what are they going to do?
I really am interested to see what it means for stars now, because the stars that are available for a reason. You bring up Zion. Right. I mean, the last thing the hospital ward Clippers need is a player who tried his best to get himself in the best shape, and he looked like it. I mean, he definitely looked like a diet GQ this offseason, and Zion's still out for weeks, right? The Clippers don't need that. You know, Trae Young, he's out right now. The Hawks are, Wednesday night aside, they look like they are a team that can win at least with him. I'm not saying thrive completely. They could use him, but they clearly can win with this. They didn't collapse because Trae Young is out, right? And so you look at LaMelo Ball, John Morant, those kind of guys. It's like, first of all, that means you're trading James Harden. You are not pairing James Harden with those guys, but also those guys have massive deficiencies. Why are you trading pieces away and acquiring those contracts? And Dave, my last point on this is the contracts. You talk about Giannis, you talk about a lot of these guys. The Clippers are trying to clear the books. They're trying to have maximum cap space. And an avenue to that includes, if you're going to trade for somebody, the plan right now is to have guys with expiring deals. James Harden can be a free agent next summer. Kawhi Leonard, it could be the last year of his contract. If the contract is still upheld by the NBA after all this investigation stuff is concluded, we'll see how long that takes. The Clippers have had a plan in place since Paul George walked in 2024. Last year, we didn't talk about that plan as much because they overachieved to the degree that they did. This year, it's the opposite. They're underachieving. It's the same thing. You kind of have a plan, and usually when you have a plan, you stick to it, whether you are doing better than people thought you would, or this year when you are far below expectations. That is a consideration for anything that the Clippers might do in terms of acquiring talent.
All right. Well, they definitely need some talent. So however this goes, if they're going to try to win basketball games, hopefully they can find a way to get some. Thanks to Es Baraheni for talking to me before the break. Thanks to Law Murray for always being available for the show. I'm Dave DuFour. This has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.